Chapter 6 Symbolism, the Key to Power. We are now going to deal with symbols. The first step must be to ask, what is a symbol? What does it do and how can we use it? Sadly, very few students know the answer to these questions. They do not know the power of the question, why? As I have said before, never do anything in magic that you do not understand. So let us now follow the ever-unfolding path of discovery through the maze of symbolism. What is a symbol? Rather than go into a long-winded discussion, here's an example from everyday life. We are all familiar with the mathematical addition sign, the plus sign, so much so that very few people ever think about its meaning. It means add together, or plus for short. This simple cross is a symbol representing a host of thoughts. Can you imagine how complicated mathematics would be without it? Instead of the cross, we would have to write, add these numbers together to form one number. In addition, by its use, we also imply that the numbers should not be subtracted, divided, or multiplied. Without this symbol, writing down the addition of the numbers 1 through 10 would take up several lines and would take a great deal of time. How about a note of music? A simple black dot with a tail. It is far easier to write and understand this symbol than to say to another musician, "No, not that note, up a bit." Yes, that's it. Now, can you hold that note for about 2/10 of a second? Ridiculous. As these examples demonstrate, symbols represent ideas and convey these ideas quickly. They store information and then convey this information almost instantly. These are just two of the symbols used in everyday life. There are many more, and without them, life would be far more complicated than it is now, and progress would be far slower. Now, what about magical symbols? Well, they work in exactly the same way. First, they store information for quick recall, and more importantly, they are a language of power. To take this idea further, numbers are symbols. They represent an idea. Life is full of symbols. Many are taken for granted. Not so in magic. We have to use symbols and understand them. In order to make a symbol work effectively, it must be understood. Your reaction to it would be instantaneous. This is not an impossible feat. When you first started to read, how did you do it? You started by using symbols called letters, the letters of the alphabet. When you look at a word now, you do not look at each word and quietly say to yourself, A is for apple, B is for ball, and so on. All that preliminary work has been done. Your eyes see the letter, recognize the word, and the word, which is yet another symbol, means something. You can do this because of practice. Now you have no difficulty in using these early symbols to communicate. You will notice that you do not think when you use symbols. It is automatic. Something else is doing the thinking for you, and that something is your subconscious mind. It recognizes the symbols, interprets them, and passes on the meanings to your conscious mind instantly. A magical symbol does exactly the same thing if you let it. There are two forms of magical symbols, personal and universal. The former needs to be worked on. The latter already have been and contain a wealth of knowledge and power if you work with them. Let us have a look at the personal symbols first. They are available by the hundreds. Books are filled with them. They are copied, sold at exorbitant prices in many different materials. An eager public buys these magical symbols hoping that some of the power will work for them. By now you should know exactly why it does not. If not, then you should go back over the previous chapters to see why. A personal symbol is personal. It belongs quite rightly to the person who conceived it. It cannot work for others because even if they try, they cannot understand it to the same degree. The universal symbol is another matter. It can be personalized, yet it is universal. The encircled cross is one such symbol, and the pentagram and hexagram are others. In working with any universal symbol, you not only build up your own associations, you can also draw on the wealth of knowledge of all time. How? I will try to put this in simple terms. We discussed in the previous chapter how everything is composed of the four elements, arranged as an encircled cross. No matter what it is or has been created, it will fit into the scheme, the symbol. Creation begins with thought, and thought controls the elements. Therefore, it is safe to assume that all the thoughts are contained within the encircled cross. This is not only true for you or me, but also true for everyone who has ever lived. The symbol is valid throughout creation. It embraces all energy patterns and all thinking. When working with this universal symbol, you are contacting everything. The potential of the encircled cross symbol is, therefore, vast and totally beyond our comprehension. You should always bear in mind that as all geometric shapes are born out of the division of a circle, so all other universal symbols are to be found within the encircled cross. The study of this and other symbols in their own right is a specialized branch of magical training, which, due to its complexity, is far beyond the scope of this book. Just as some people learn only sufficient math to get by, while others choose to study math in its own right, there are many branches of magic which can be studied either in depth or superficially. It is up to you to develop along whichever path you wish to go, and go as far as you wish along that path. Let us now, however, return to practical magic. Symbols and symbolism are very important in magic, for the simple reason that your subconscious mind understands and responds to these in a positive way. We have done some initial work with the encircled cross, and we have used this in a symbolic way, by working its pattern into a ritual. Now we will extend the process. The use of symbolism is best illustrated with an example. If you light a candle, in the ordinary sense, if you strike a match, light it, and then use the candle for its intended purpose. The act is simple and automatic. You need some light, so you light a candle. Now look at this from a different point of view. Light a candle and follow a train of thought. We generate flame from nothing. It brings light to darkness together with a little heat. We can see much better. Creation itself is just like this. First there is a thought, an intention, a need. This is followed by action, and finally, a result. Where would we be without light and heat? We cannot live as we do today. Our planet would be inert, frozen, and dead. Light and heat sustain life. Little wonder we understandably feel safe when there is light. It is reputed that we rose above the animals when we learned how to control fire. It gives us power, and appropriately the symbol for fire is the magical rod by which we direct power and creative energy. Now, exercises in thought like this are not only interesting, but useful as they help us use our imagination. You could contemplate this one idea for a long time, and many fascinating avenues would open up. What triggered this off? The candle, or rather, the symbolism within the flame. A chain of natural thoughts such as these can be put together in a symbolic way to make a useful ritual. All you have to do is to remember the key points in the chain. Let us take the previous example and use it ritually. We stand in the darkness with no light. Our thoughts range over the ideas of no life, non-creation, stillness, and inertia. At the right time, we think in a positive way, create, and we light our candle, recognizing that a magical act has been done. We have light and power, just like the sun itself, and we can control and direct it around our encircled cross in whichever pattern we choose. Light has overcome darkness, and creative power is about to be used. A simple act of lighting a candle has been turned into a very effective ritual due to the fact that we have thought about and used symbolism. Now look at the contrast between just lighting a candle and lighting it in a symbolic way. There is a world of difference, and it is just this difference which marks the line between success and complete failure. Any amount of thinking along symbolic lines is bound to improve your rituals. It also gets a reaction from your subconscious mind. You do not have to sweat and strain at this or spend years doing meaningful meditations. Apply moderation to common sense. Work on symbolic contemplation by degrees with a view to improving matters. A little thought goes a long way in magic. A lot of strained, perfectionist thinking in protracted bursts is not a good idea. Follow the gentle path of gradual attainment. This is yet another reason as to why I asked you to put away all equipment and to set aside all previous ideas at the beginning of this book. Not only do you need to think about whether you need these or not, but you also need to think about these things. Everything that you do, say, or use should have a symbolic content in order to make it useful. Let us now have another look at our basic encircled cross and pentagram ritual and see if we can improve things by building up useful symbolism. Here are some suggestions. First, spend some time each day building up symbolic ideas around the center and cardinal points of the magical circle, along the lines I have already suggested. Keep notes. Put these under separate headings for easy reference. Use your notebook or magical diary. Again, there is no need for copious notes. Simple headings will do as long as these stimulate your memory when you read through them. Use the example of the central candle. You could write it down. Darkness and inertia create power like the sun. Control and direct around the encircled cross using the rod, and so on. Add more as you discover lines of thought. Gradually, these chains of thought can be worked into this and other rituals. It is important to remember that these are your ideas which you are discovering. Do practice this. It does not take up too much time, but it will make a world of difference, as you will see. Bringing these symbolic ideas together into rituals will be discussed later on, when you will learn the art of constructing rites that work because they are yours and are symbolically correct. Having now looked at the central candle, let us move on to more important cardinal points. Starting with the point overhead, this belongs to the All-Father. Now follow through the idea in a symbolic way to see where it leads. Father, All-Father, male potency, descending power, positive and outgoing. Think about a father, a power, beneficent figure pouring out energy from on high. Do this yourself and build up associations. Just as the upper point is positive male, so the lower point is negative female. By negative, I mean receptive. This point belongs to the Earth Mother, or Great Mother, who gives birth to all living things and is responsible for nature itself. She can be found wherever a tree or blade of grass grows. She responds to the cosmic tides, creating color, scent, and beauty. This is Mother Nature herself, and we stand firmly in her domain, supported and sustained. Work these and other ideas into your encircled cross and pentagram ritual. When you see the light inside yourself, imagine the enormous power of cosmic energy pouring out of you unfettered and unrestricted, being given freely and abundantly by the powerful Sky Father. Personalize this by imagining this figure. Try to get the feel of this energy. A little practice will soon show positive results. Do the same with the lower point. Feel the earth responding willingly to every thought and every intention. Try to imagine the Earth Mother giving in a receptive way, just like a real mother would. By personalizing these points, we are establishing more contact than is possible with pure abstractions and related ideas. This is an important part of magical work, which so often goes wrong for the simple reason that students unthinkingly start to believe in the images as though they are real people. This is not so. The art of personifying images is called talismatics, and a talismatic is a symbol. Whereas the encircled cross, pentagram, hexagram, and so on are abstract, a talismatic takes human or humanoid form. Angels, archangels, and even Satan himself are talismatics. They are extremely useful due to the fact that they give personal contact with energies in a more fundamental way. You can talk to a talismatic, and if you practice with these symbols, they will talk back in their own way. After all, it is far easier to talk to a human-like creature than it is to a five-pointed star. Always remember that these are images or representations of specific energies. They are symbols, and in keeping with the idea of symbols, some are truly personal, others are again universal. All-Father and Earth Mother are examples of universal symbols, and like their abstract counterparts, they can be worked with and contain a wealth of knowledge. The mistake is constantly made of accepting that these images are external to ourselves and that they exist as separate entities in their own right. This is nonsense, yet the belief perpetuates together with the all too familiar lack of thinking and the failure to ask why. Because of misdirected belief, contemporary magic suffers from a restricting stranglehold that binds its devotees to the pillars of ignorance. Never credit a talismanic image with the one thing it cannot have, a life of its own. To do this is to follow the path of self-restriction and eventually subservience. I could quote pages of silly statements by supposedly enlightened individuals like, "Nothing is too good for the gods," "Earth spirits, hear my plea," "If thou wouldst grant my wish, O mighty one," and even, "I am unfit to raise my eyes to thee, great Pan." Can you see the tremendous mistake being made? It is called subservience and self-degradation. There is a presumption, and it is a presumption of the worst kind, that the images are greater than the one who imagines them. Attitudes like this are self-defeating. You do not ask of an image, you direct it. It is subservient to you. You are the one with the power. You create. All images are there for one purpose, to aid the creative potential within you. Let me ask you this. Who makes the most serious mistake? The spiritualists with their personal spirit guides, or the adepts who bend their knees before an imaginary entity? Another difficulty with talismatics is that they become too personal, too much like the human beings who invented them, and so they take on human characteristics of the worst kind. Not only do people become subservient, they also believe in retribution and all sorts of spiteful and nasty actions, which become embodied in the now outer control image. As you believe, so you are, on all levels. Belief actuates by degrees. Put enough effort into this sort of thinking, and you are likely to get compatible results. The imagination is a powerful tool, no matter which way you use it. Apply it to unfounded, chaotic concepts like this, and you can hardly be surprised if you suffer accordingly. Perfection is the vital key word in all magical work. Build up a magic circle that is perfect, and everything that is contained within is perfect. Why do people insist on filling it with these despicable monstrosities dredged up from a less than perfect past? The answer is acceptance of previous ideas without applying common sense and wisdom. You are aiming for perfection. Always remember this. Unless the image that you build are perfect and conducive to your ideas or hopes, then either reject them or alter them to suit. Do this with everything, not only images, but with ideas as well. It is valid to practice to use talismatics for reasons previously given. Do think about these images as they are quite useful images like the All-Father and Earth Mother, but in reality, there is only you and energy. That energy is controlled and directed by the imagination by the use of symbols. That energy is controlled and directed through the imagination by the use of symbols. Let us now move on to the 4 cardinal points of east, south, west, and north. At east, we meet the element of air. The more obvious images have already been given in Chapter 5, but we will now take this a little further. The symbol for the element of air is the magical sword. Look at this a little deeper. Just like the central candle, the sword can attack or defend. It has 2 edges and can cut both ways. It represents life and death in some situations, and like Excalibur, it makes kings. You can cut or probe or keep at bay with this weapon. It is a weapon of speed and requires a quick mind. The sword is linked to the mind. It is the symbol of conscious thought. All 4 weapons imply control, and by taking hold of them, you are exercising your right to control. You can do this entirely in your imagination. In fact, this is far more important than actually owning a so-called magical sword. The physical representation is of no value without the inner contact. The inner contact is made by thinking about the sword or any other weapon along symbolic lines. A very good idea is to use substitutes, such as tarot cards. The 4 aces make a very good substitute and are ideal for contemplation. They may be placed on the appropriate quarter using whatever ritual ideas come to mind. The Rider-Waite cards are recommended as the images are clear and concise. From the sword, let us now move to the south and the spear or rod of power. To use the magical spear requires a different approach to using the sword. It is a weapon that gives more control as it can keep an attacker at an easier, greater distance, especially when thrown with accuracy. The transmuted symbol is the rod or wand of a symbol of authority. All important people carry some sort of rod, from a simple baton to an elaborate mace. The rod implies creative power and the ability to direct this. All creative thinking belongs to the rod and to fire. Moving to the west, we find the magical cup and its earliest symbol, the horn. In reality, the cup is not a weapon at all. The cup contains. The sword and rod are positive and direct. The cup and shield are receptive. Cups can be filled with whatever you wish. Traditionally, swords have to be won in battle. Spears are earned. Shields are made. But the cup is given in love, for it is the symbol of love. Cups are to be found everywhere, especially in nature. A bird's nest receives and contains eggs. A pool contains water, which this symbol represents. The eternal waters of life are contained in the cup, which you drink from whenever you have need. Finally, we move to the north and the magical shield. Your magical shield is defensive as a weapon, but also has other uses. In ancient times, the design on your shield informed everyone of who you really were, a sort of coat and arms, if you like. Designing your own shield is of great value to you. You may have already seen your design during your inner temple journeys. If not, have a blank shield or simply an encircled cross. The ideas will come if you follow the lines of thinking that I am suggesting. Shields represent earth. Earth is the element that you shape to your needs, and it responds. Before building a house, you would need a plan which you would either draw yourself or get someone else to do it for you. You need a plan how to design your shield. A shield represents an idea of an earthly plan of action. You will find shields everywhere. Circuit diagrams, a page of a book, and even a stained glass window are all shields. The shield shows the plan of action, usually in some symbolic form. So an ideal shield should be your own symbolic plan of action or belief pattern. These and other ideas should be thought about regularly, especially at the beginning. The more you do it, the better will be your understanding of magic, and the better the results. You can do this whenever you have a few spare minutes, or you can use the encircled cross and pentagram ritual as a fitting base for contemplation. Open the temple in the usual way, then spend some time thinking about each of the cardinal points before closing down and writing down any useful ideas. Make use of ritual. Not only does it help you to obtain physical results, it also helps you to understand the workings of the cosmic energies. Before leaving the subject of symbols, perhaps I ought to mention the two most popular ones, the pentagram and the hexagram. Like the encircled cross, you can work with these symbols and they will reveal much. You can attach ideas to each of the points. The planets fit particularly well to the hexagram. This is why I like using it on the door of the inner temple. These two symbols are derived from the encircled cross, and they are best considered as fine-tuning devices. Unless you wish to study symbols and the intricacies of energy patterns as a subject in their own right, they are best left alone. The golden rule of magic is always, do not do or say anything that you do not understand. So often pentagrams are forced into every sort of rite imaginable. Arms are waved in the air, strange sounds are made, and the endless debate about the inverted pentagram goes on and on. The few who really understand this symbol do not waste time and energy on this sort of stupidity. If you ask most people what the symbol means, most of them will not be able to tell you. They have not even thought about it. It is little wonder their rituals are hardly better than amateur theatricals. The more enlightened ones will tell you that it represents perfected man or even spirit ruling matter. Pressed further, they will again flounder. The pentagram, like its mother symbol, the encircled cross, represents whatever you make of it. You can stick a few things onto its points like a decoration on a Christmas tree, permutate these about and call it magic, or you can use it properly. It is a design of energy flow, and like the flat diagram of the encircled cross, which you now know turns into a magical circle, the pentagram has a three-dimensional geometric shape as well. Pentagrams are often used in banishing or in everyday language, chasing away demons and astral entities. As a student of this book, you will by now have understood that these things do not exist, so there is no need to banish anything. Astral terrorists have been around far longer than your pentagram, so your pentagram is going to be laughed at. That is, if you believe in such things. Regrettably, pentagram wavers obviously do. You do not erect your magic circle or pentagrams to protect yourself from astral entities. You do it to form a symbolic pattern of perfection which you then use to aid creative activity. Much the same way can be said about purifying and consecration. If your temple happens to smell of drains or boiled cabbage, then get out the air freshener or at least open a window. Purifying the place of working implies that there is something nasty hanging about in your temple. A correctly used temple is a place to practice perfection. So how can anything get in there which is not perfect in the first place? To consecrate, dedicate, or bless something is another matter, and these will be discussed later on. In the meantime, forget about banishing and purifying. These things belong to a best forgotten past. Work only with perfection and correct, well thought out symbolism. Working with symbolism. Your practical work for Chapter 6 involves symbolism. In addition to the ideas earlier in this chapter, I would like you to try this simple idea. which will enhance your magical work, help develop your pentagram ritual together with your inner temple, and will give you some practical symbolism to work with. All you will need for this is a bowl, a small bottle, and some water. I did say that you would not have to spend a fortune on equipment. What you are going to do is produce a physical representation of the magical pool, which you will remember is the symbol of your subconscious mind. Now, before you rush out and buy these things, there is something that you should always remember, and this is, it is not the equipment that is magical, no matter what your magical supplier says. It is the way in which you work with this equipment that matters. Again, I will draw your attention to the central candle. Any candle will do, but the more thought out and symbolism that you attach to this candle, the more effective it will become. For instance, you can buy any old candle from a hardware shop, stick it into a makeshift holder, light it on a haphazard matter, and mumble a few words in the hope that it just might attract something interesting from some remote god. Or you can put some thought and effort into this. The difference is quite amazing. Think about your choice of candle, the color, the shape, and the size. Treat it as something special, and treat it with care as you would any valuable item. The more you put in of yourself, the more you get out. Personalize it. Use your imagination and ingenuity. If you have not got a holder, then make one. A saucer will do. Keep this especially for magical work. Paint it gold to represent the sun or any color scheme which you think fits. If you are really artistic, you can work in a border of the 4 elemental colors of yellow, red, blue, and green. A plain block of wood can be just as easily adapted. Any effort, no matter how slight, performed with dedication is bound to repay you many times over. Just do your best. It does not matter what the textbook or anyone else thinks. If you try, if you do your best, that is good enough. Extend this idea all through your magical work. Personalize everything and make it truly magical. Returning now to your magical pool, first get a hold of a reasonably sized bowl, big enough for a pint or so of water. It can be glass, metal, or even plastic. Search around. Make it a quest. Try to find one that feels and looks right. By doing this, you will be personalizing this item, and you will be making it different from any ordinary bowl. Carry this a little further by decorating it in some way. You can paint or spray the outside in gold or white, as these are both central colors. Silver also looks good. This is only a suggestion. You must decide after careful thinking along the lines suggested. It is your bowl, your symbol of your own pool. Take your time. If you wish to change it later, you can. So there's no need for total perfection at this stage. All magical equipment tends to be altered as time goes on. It is all part of the natural process of learning, so do not worry about making mistakes at this stage. This bowl is, of course, the symbol of the central pool. Ideally, it ought to be placed at the center of the temple with the central light above it. However, if this is not practical, then use whatever space you have in the best way you can. As long as you understand that this is the symbol of the pool and treat it accordingly, you will have no problems. Now we have our symbolic pool. What are we going to fill it with? Water. Magical water. Again, the following ideas are only a suggestion. You may elaborate or alter these to suit, but the basic idea is quite valid. If possible, obtain the water from some special place like a holy well or natural spring. Rainwater is also a good idea, or water from a stream. If you really cannot manage this, then tap water is the obvious choice, but try. Make this another quest. Have a small bottle handy to collect and keep the water in. Again, personalize this. Look around for a bottle that is pleasing in shape and color. Having obtained this and filled it with water, now we need to make this water special by charging it with energy. In this way, your bottle of water will really be special and magical. The process is quite easy. However, a little practice beforehand will help you to achieve your objective. Use the pentagram ritual to open. Have the same music ready for looking into the pool that you would use for the inner temple exercise. Have your bottle of water ready on the altar or some other convenient place. When the temple is open, the candles lit, and if you like, incense burning, then say an invocation. An example is given. You may use it or think up your own words. Invocation. From my silent central power come together in this hour, inner strength and outer thought, a universe conceived from naught. air and fire, water, earth, bring this power into birth. Father high and mother deep, fulfill the promise you must keep. Into water, from the west, flowing freely, all that is blessed. Inner pool, part of me, my ultimate reality. I call upon your gentle might through the medium of light. Water, water, be thrice blessed, filled with power, never rest, until my work is plain to see, and all I am is truly me. Closing down. My work is done. May the energies contained in this water continue to work on all levels of life according to my true will and desires. As power came forth from space, from peace, so shall peace remain while the energies within flow freely into mundane existence. Note: the above should be said in a slow and deliberate manner. The words need not be spoken out loud. It is the thinking which matters. Try to get the feel of the words and use your imagination. When ready, relax in your imagination. See the bottle glowing with shining white light. Again, do not worry if this is working or why this may or may not work. Just allow this to happen. Relax and be confident. Pretend. Make believe. It will work, and the more you let go and allow this to happen, the better will be the end result. At the end, stand up and declare that the magical work is complete and successful. Again, you may use the words from the invocation if you so desire. Now close the temple and put the bottle away in a safe place for later use. The next stage of the operation is quite simple. Before any ritual, fill your bowl with ordinary water and add a few drops from your bottle of magical water. You may, if you like, turn this into a little ritual in itself. I will leave you to decide if you wish to do this and how to do it. At the end of the rite, you may dispose of the water in your magical bowl or keep it in a safe place. If you have a permanent temple, you could keep this in the center. From time to time, you'll need to change this, as magical water can become a little stale. When you do, dispose of it. Do not just pour it down the sink or slosh it unceremoniously down the toilet. You have put a lot of thought and effort into this water. It contains part of you. So give it back to nature and the elements. Pour it onto the earth or into a stream or pool. Again, a little thought goes a long way. Now we have a physical representation of the inner source of power, so let us start to make use of this. From now on, you do not just use your imagination, you also actually see a symbolic pool in your own temple, no matter how humble this may be. Now you can combine imaginative inner working with outer physical action. Here are some useful suggestions. We all have problems, doubts, worries, and in reality, we do not want these. Solve the problems by magical means. Magical power can do or solve anything, and each one of you has this power. Never forget this. Use your power. Do not put up with unsatisfactory conditions. Problems are there as a challenge, almost as if life is saying to you, now look at this. Is this really what you want? Very often the solution to each problem is contained in the problem itself. Rather than struggle on or accept these impositions, use your abilities. To try is to step out onto the path of success. Muddles and so on can be solved and quite easily by using these techniques. Before you start the ritual, do all your thinking and planning first. Spend some time being positive, telling yourself that you're going to succeed. You do not have to concern yourself with how, when, or why. Simply allow your inner power to sort the whole thing out in its own way. Trust it. Remember, you have nothing to lose by trying. You have everything to lose by not trying. Use the pentagram ritual and inner temple. Have some music ready for use with the pool. Place your fingertips in the water and imagine that the pool is washing those problems away. Let go and allow these ideas to flow freely. Sit down and play the music while seeing this happen in your imagination. If you have nervous problems, take some of the water and spread it gently on your forehead. If it is some other affliction, then bathe the affected part, never forgetting the inner work. Use your imagination to see a golden light shining over the afflicted part. A little ingenuity will suggest all sorts of ideas, simple ideas which you can use. Let these ideas develop, no matter how simple and childlike they may appear to be. It is this childlike simplicity that gets results during rituals. Think before you start. During the ritual, enact, pretend, and make believe. This is potent magical fact. Suppose you're having money problems, and these days, who does not? Do not fret and worry about this or try to solve it by conscious effort. Use magic. During the ritual, take all your paper money into your temple, dip your fingers into the pool of water, and one by one, touch each bill, leaving a small amount of water on each one. Use your imagination to see lots of money falling like snow all around you. To brighten up your home and create a more healthy atmosphere, why not charge up the pool with energy during a ritual, then go outside and use some to water the plants. Leave small amounts in each room so that it can evaporate and fill the air. Use the elements. They do not just exist in a temple or in your mind, they exist everywhere, and they are only too willing to assist those who choose to help themselves. Put some in your bathwater, then have a good soak while thinking positively of all the things you wish to have. If you manage to get uncontaminated natural water, drink it and absorb the energy that it contains. The magical waters of Britain have cured more ailments and helped more people to solve their problems than anyone will ever be able to count. You are now dealing with magical water. The more you work on or with it, the better the results. Do not throw away the chance to do something that is natural, symbolically correct, and magical. You will, I promise, be surprised and well rewarded for your efforts.